Oh, how is everybody today? Come here. Come say hi. If you've been watching my videos the past couple days, I've been talking about my eldest pretty cat. He was having seizures and stuff. Well, he has passed away. So we are trying to get emotional support from the rest of them. It ain't working. They're not. There are two kinds of cats. Well, there's a million kinds of cats. But there's your cat and most of the cats in the world are I will let you hold me when I want to be held, or I will come to you when I want to come to you. And then there's this small portion of cats that I call emotional support cats, where they will come regardless of whether they want to or not. They will sit in your lap for decades if you want them to. You can hold them forever. I have no problem with any of that. My computer's not a scratch and post there, dude. So anyways, so not right now, but down the line we'll be looking. We need to mourn. And he was with us for almost 19 years, so he's in a couple of the videos way back, so you might see him. He got a clean bill of health from the vet. All his tests came back normal. 7 days later, he's dead. Go figure. It's really, really hard. So anyways, today we are talking about, I wrote it down and now I lost it. Book 15 in the Anita Blake, Laurell K. Hamilton vampire series. And before we get started, please hit the like and subscribe, hit the thumbs up. I have no family and friends to do this for me, so I need you, the general public, to step up and really support me with this project. And as we are going to be undergoing a hurricane shortly, I could really use a like and subscribe. And I may not be doing videos in the next couple of days due to the fact that we may lose electricity. Fingers crossed, please no. So anyways, I've talked about all the books up until this point, and the first 9 or so books of this series are one of the betters. She's doing detective work. Anita works for Animators Inc. She raises the dead for a living. Somebody has a court case and they need to know where the will is or something. They raise the dead and ask them where the will is and stuff, or other complications like that. Plus, she's also a vampire executioner. If a vampire is convicted of a crime, she's the one that's going to go kill them. She also has necromancy skills. She also, after the Narcissus in Chains, because like I said, the first 9 books are your standard vampire murder mystery type situation with the romance on the side. Once you hit Narcissus in Chains, the cop stuff is almost obsolete. I mean, it comes back and forth. I mean, Incubus Dreams is the best book of the whole series. It has equal cop and tremendous amount of relationship stuff, but it also has cop stuff in it too. And but then you have Narcissus, Cerulean. Narcissus would be with Damien. Cerulean is Jason, and Incubus is just about everybody. So once we get past Incubus and we hit Dance Macabre, we did that a couple days ago. It becomes the Ardor. It becomes the relationships. It becomes Mommy Noir. It becomes Belle. It becomes SEX. It becomes the adult situation. Each book goes on. She will gain a few men. And further down the line, we will hit the LGBT polygamy community. And she will also take women. But we haven't gotten that far yet. So just a heads up on that one. So after we dealt with Augustine and Samuel the mermaid and Haven the lion, who has stayed in town, we're now into the like I said, the Adore situation. and it gets a little much. Some people have dropped off the series by this point, but us diehard fans will stay in it forever. In my earlier videos, you'll have to look at those, and maybe I'll do it again further down the line. I showed the pictures from the comic books. The first 3 books are in comic books also, so you will have to check those out. And I showed the pictures of those. There's Edward and Jean Claude and Richard, and Zabrowski and Dolph and Ronnie. Ronnie is her best mortal friend anyway. So, we've been dealing with this situation with Nathaniel. She rescued Nathaniel, I forget, Killing Dance or Laughing Cafe was too early. It was after Jason. So, anyways, no, not Bloody Bones, because they were out of town by that point. So, back then. So, she's been she's put Nathaniel in the needs to be rescued, needs to be taken care of box. Now, since Narcissus in Chains, we had gained Micah. That was the big character in Narcissus in Chains. That was the big one. And him and Nathaniel have moved in with Anita. And Nathaniel is enjoying himself. He sees himself as Anita's 1950s wife. He takes the groceries, he does the cooking, the cleaning, he enjoys the hell out of it. He's also a stripper at Guilty Pleasures, he makes good money. Mike is head of the coalition. It's Anita, it's all in her head. She's really having a hard time with this. She's struggling, and everybody in creation. Jason had a talk with her back in Incubus, I think, beginning of Incubus, and it's in her head, and she's got to get past it. And she did get past it somewhat in Incubus. There are some events in there, and even Richard has a hard time with the events in there. And there are some people, it's like, there's one chapter, it's like 1/2 page, and you're like, you know what? You could skip that page if you want to. I mean, it's okay. So anyways, so we start this book, and spoiler alert, I'm going to tell stuff. Malcolm is head of the church, and he's come to Anita because he's scared. He's been contacted, and he's frightened out of his score. So he comes to Anita because he can't go to Jean Claude for politic reasons. So he comes to Anita and tells Anita. So Anita tells Jean Claude, and he knows who she's talking about. It's them who shall not be named, or he that shall be not. It's so Harry Potterish, but this is worse. This is more adultish. This is murderous type situation. So she's going on a date with Nathaniel that night. So Jean Claude says, "Go ahead, go on the date." So they go and see King Kong. And after the movie, Anita heads to the restroom, and there's a gift in there. And at first, she mistakenly thinks it's from Nathaniel. But then later, no, it's not from Nathaniel. So she calls Jean Claude and learns, oh shit, we need to get to Guilty Pleasures. He doesn't really give her much details, and she's frustrated by the whole thing. And she's so sideways by this whole situation that a couple who are fans of Nathaniel were there the one night that Anita went on stage with Nathaniel, and Anita is just like livid, and she's so livid, and Nathaniel fills her in on some stuff, and this is the one chapter I'll read, then I'll do the rest my other way. But this is important. I wasn't so angry that I forgot to check out the crowd as we moved, but I had to force the anger down to be able to see straight. I was actually more embarrassed than angry, which meant the fight could be all the worse for it. I hated being embarrassed and usually masked it with anger. Even knowing that's what I did didn't change the fact that I did it. It just let me know why I was angry. I actually waited until we were in the parking lot to say, Nikki, what the F kind of name is that? One I'd remember, he said. I jerked away from him hard enough that he almost dropped the box. I'm never going to be on stage again. I don't need a stage name. You don't want them to figure out your real name, do you? I frowned at him. I'm in the news enough. They'll figure it out eventually. Maybe if you give them a stage name to remember, they'll think of you as a stripper, not as a federal marshal. You're embarrassed enough that Detective Arnett saw us on stage that night. Yes, I'm still waiting for her to tell the rest of the police that she and I work with. But she hasn't, he said. I shook my head. She can't admit she saw you without admitting she was there. And why? Cops go to strip clubs all the time. But she didn't go to see strippers. She went to see me. That stopped me, made me turn and stare. What do you mean? She came to the club on a night you weren't there since you've avoided the club as much as possible. That's a lot of the time. Can we have this conversation in the car? He had a point. I unlocked the door. We climbed in. Where's the other car? I had Micah drop me off so he'll have the car if he needs it. I knew you'd drive me home. It made sense. I turned on the car so the heater would start working. I finally realized it was a little chilly. My anger had kept me warm, even with my coat flapping open. What do you mean Arnett came to the club? She said to have a private dance. I stared at him. She did what? Detective Jessica Arnett worked on the Regional Preternatural Investigation Team, RPIT for short. It was the branch of the local police that I worked with the most. I'd known she had a crush on Nathaniel, but I'd been so busy trying not to admit that I was living with a stripper that I'd kept him too much a secret until I brought him as a date to a wedding that Arnett was at. Then the secret was out and she was mad at me for not telling her we were an item sooner. She seemed to feel like I made her a fool of herself. She hadn't made a fool of herself, but she'd gone to guilty pleasures for the first time that one night that Nathaniel got me on stage. She now was convinced that I was abusing Nathaniel. Chain someone up on stage and hit them with a flogger a few times and people think you're abusing them. Of course, the flogger had been Nathaniel and Jean Claude's idea, a part of Nathaniel's regular show apparently. What I'd done next had been all me and Nathaniel. I'd marked and bit him hard enough to bleed him on stage. It had been the first time I'd voluntarily marked him like that, not because the yard door got out of control, but because he liked it and I liked it, and I'd promised. Arnett was convinced that I was Madame de Sade and Nathaniel was my victim. I tried explaining that Nathaniel was only a victim when he wanted to be, but she hadn't bought it. I convinced she would tell the other cops and out me badly. Living with a 20-year-old stripper with juvenile arrest for prostitution was bad enough. But getting on stage myself, well, that had been oh hell bad. How private a dance did she get? He grinned. Are you jealous? I thought that for a second, then had to say, yeah, I guess so. That's so sweet, he said. Just tell me about Arnett. She didn't want the dance, she wanted to talk. He seemed to think about it for a second, then added, okay, she wanted the dance a lot, but she was too uncomfortable with me to ask for what she wanted. We just talked. About? She tried to get me to admit that you were abusing me. She wanted me to leave you and save myself. Why didn't you tell me? You were already worried about Annette telling Zabrowski and the other cops what she'd seen. You were in the middle of some messy murder investigation. I didn't figure you needed the hassle, and I handled it. Has she been back? He shook his head. Tell me next time, okay? If you want. I want. She can't tell on you because she's afraid you'd tell them that she has a thing for your stripper boyfriend. She doesn't want to admit what bothered her most about the show you and I did is that she liked it. I didn't think Arnett swung that way, I said. Neither did she. I looked at him, studied that face. There was a look on it now. Just say it. The look in your eyes. Just say it. You hate most in others what you don't like in yourself. Huh? What? I thought about something almost identical to that earlier tonight. What about? Do you really think giving Greg and his girlfriend a stage name for me will keep them from making the connection to Anita Blake? Yeah, I do. They'll think of you as a stripper named Nikki, and that's it. You won't be anything or more to them than that. Strangely disturbing, but why Nikki? Why that stage name? Because I knew I'd remember it. Remember it why? Because it was my name when I did porn. You did what? Nikki Brandon is the name I used when I did movies. I did the long blink, the one that meant I was thinking hard or too surprised to think. You gave me your pornography name? Half of it, he said. I didn't know what to say. Was I supposed to be flattered or insulted? I declare this fight over until I figure out if we're actually having a fight. Trust me, Anita, this isn't a fight. Then how come I'm angry? Let's see. There's some bad vamps in town messing with you. You always hate it when fans recognize Brandon the stripper. But tonight, for the first time, you got recognized from the one time you went on stage. If you're embarrassed by my job, you're even more embarrassed that anyone would think you were a stripper. I'm not embarrassed by your job. Yes, you are. I started the car. Am not. The next time you introduce me to your friends, don't call me a dancer, call me an exotic dancer. I opened my mouth, closed it, and started backing up. I wouldn't do it. He was right. I kept introducing him as a dancer. Do you want me to introduce you like that? No, but I want you not to be ashamed of what I do. I'm not ashamed of you or your job. Fine, have it your way. And they go on about the relationship, and they also bring up Richard. And so they get to the club, they get to Guilty Pleasures, and there's a situation with Byron and Requiem with Nathaniel. And some things are said that, again, Anita is not pleased with. And then they also learn that he who shall not be named, or they who shall not be named, the Harlequin, have electronically bugged Jean Claude's office because they make contact with them. And then they discuss the fact that Richard arrives and they have bugged his house. So they're all concerned with that. Then we have to deal with the Ardor and Haven and Samuel and some other situations that arise that were never completed in Danse Macabre. Then we discover Raphael is the Rat King, and he is a character that has been around since the very first book. He's been a prominent character throughout the whole series. And he gets his own book down the line. We will get there. And he has decided that he wants in. If Anita is sleeping with all the other kings, then she needs to be sleeping with him too, so he can share with the power that they have. And at first they tell him no, and Richard gets off between Belmont interfering and the Ardor interfering and the emotions from the Harlequin interfering. Anita ends up in bed with Raphael and almost killing him and Jean Claude and Richard, and Belmont steps in to help save her. And someone we haven't seen for a while, but if you read Narcissus in Chains, you know that when Anita went in to save Nathaniel, she also saved the Swan Mains. And Donovan Reese, we haven't seen him for a few books, shows up and he sacrifices himself, and he's like, they need someone who she can feed off of that has a very large population. And while the Swan Mains are not, they're more likely, they're seen as food, there is so many of them that she can get a really good feeding off of them, because there are so many Swan Mains. There are more Swan Mains than probably any other species, because he covers the entire world. And so she does a good feeding. Then they discover they've had a traitor in their midst. So I won't reveal that. You'll have to read the book for that. And then Peter and Edward show up just in time for the traitor to reveal herself. and Peter gets hurt, and he may or may not end up with lycanthropy. And Anita's favorite, I'd never want to see you again, Olaf, and Otto Jeffries arrives, and the Indian, the Shadow, but they call them the Four Horsemen because of their executioner status. And if you like Edward, go read Obsidian. But if you could do without it, skip it. It's not. And then Dolph shows up, and Haven decides. They asked Joseph. He was the. Did I write down? He did. When I told you about Donovan Reese, how she needed a really good feeding to save Richard and Jean Claude. Well, one of the other big local groups is Joseph and the Lions. And Joseph's wife will not let him go to bed with Anita. And because of that situation, because he is ruled by his wife and was unable to save or participate in saving Anita, Jean Claude, and Richard, Haven steps up because he was with Augustine in Chicago and he's a big time mobster and also a lion. He tells Anita that he will kill Joseph. And she goes, it means that once I kill Joseph and take over his pride, I will be permanent member of your coalition. I'll be the local Rex. Once I take over Joseph's pride, I can't go back to Chicago. The human part of me, the common sense part of me said, send his ass home. The coldly practical side said, who else is going to run the Lions here? There were no other candidates. The lioness in me wanted to know if he was as good as his brag. Not just about sex, but power. The lioness, more than any other of my beasts, wanted a mate that could protect her, keep up with her. None of my other beasts were so competitive as the lion. I got a distant swirl of Tiger like a dream of a dream. Tiger wanted to be left alone. Fine with me. I'm scared of you, Haven. Scared that you being my lion will fuck up my life. I know you're bad, and you've been bad your entire adult life. That's a lot of bad habits to break. I'm not sure I know how to be good. I know. So I stay Anita, decide now, because once the pride is mine, the choice is gone. And Joseph comes in, and Anita's like, he begs, but he won't submit. And because he won't submit, she's like, okay, So then see how much book is left here. That's when Dolph and Zabrowski show up to talk about what happened with the traitor in their midst. And then there's a big, huge showdown at the church, and another person gets hurt in their circle. So you'll have to check it out. Book 15, The Harlequin, and Blood Noir is up next. And we will be getting to Jason. And, I skipped Micah. Did I skip Micah? That was a few books ago. Oh, well. But please check it out. The Harlequin. Please look forward to Blood Noir and J.D. Robb. Delusion and Death is upcoming next. And Carolyn Sparks, we're going to continue with the At Stake series. Lindsay Sands will continue with the Argonos. Don't forget Star Trek Fridays. We're doing The Next Generation. We'll be doing The Family. Picard goes home. He's trying to recover after the Borg situation. They really did a number on him physically and emotionally, and it's going to take a while. And if you've seen Picard 3, you know that there's a lasting effect from the Borg that no one knew about previously. So let's get ready for Blood Noir and Laurell K. Hamilton, Book 15, The Harlequin. So check it out. We're going good here. Have a good night, and Keep your fingers crossed we get through the hurricane, okay? Thanks. Bye.